Ever imagined yourself as a cowboy, riding into the sunset? The very picture of freedom and adventure? Greetings everyone, today, we'll uncover the truth about cowboys, revealing their harsh lifestyles, their unique attire, their bond with horses, and the little joys they found amidst the challenges. If you find this video interesting, please support us by hitting the like button. Now, let's get started. Riding swiftly on horseback through the wilderness at sunset is a familiar scene, emblematic of Hollywood's portrayal of the Western frontier. In fact, the era most associated with cowboys spanned less than 50 years in the late 19th century, yet a certain admiration for them is still alive and well today. Cowboys, the iconic figures of North American and Australian ranches, were dedicated laborers in the livestock industry, with their lives revolving around the care and management of cattle. As the name, cowboy, suggests, cowboys' thoughts were often occupied with the welfare of their cattle, regardless of their location. Unlike cowboys, shepherd boys, another group in the livestock industry, had different responsibilities and lifestyles. The life of the cowboy was hard, to say the least. It was the cowboy's job to herd wild cattle in the wilds of the southwestern continent, and to travel across the vast American continent. The physical labor of tending cattle, including catching them with a lasso, and restraining them when they were incooperative, lasted from dawn until dusk. In between tending to the cattle, the cowboys must also fight wild animals and bandits who attacked them day and night. Thus, they were in constant danger day and night, getting only about 6 hours of sleep each night. And even that sleep was in 2 to 4 hour shifts. This was the life they led, thinking about cows all day long. And that sleep was not in a fluffy, comfortable bed. Their rest was often in simple bedrolls, a far cry from the comforts of a proper bed. And certainly not within the cozy confines of a home, a detail often romanticized or misunderstood. This seems incredibly unhygienic to us today. But was this lifestyle acceptable to the people of that time? Let's take a look at their bedding a little more specifically. One typical type of bedding used by cowboys is what is called a bedroll, which is simply a piece of cloth, and they would wrap themselves in this cloth, much like a cocoon, for a night's rest. Only a small amount of cloth separates it from the ground or gravel. Cowboys used this bedding in all kinds of harsh environments, such as deserts, highlands, and mountain trails. So, the term, filthy-minded, is not an accurate description of cowboys. They were, in fact, practical and survival-oriented, prioritizing their demanding work over personal cleanliness. While cowboys were not averse to cleanliness, the inevitable dust and dirt from the herds meant they were often covered in the day's work, a testament to their rugged lifestyle. It might seem counterintuitive that cowboys would not opt for clean bedding after bathing, but their continuous use of the same bedroll is a matter of practicality over preference. The answer is simple: they didn't have time to worry about such things. Imagine that, working late into the night, rising early in the morning, and managing with just a few hours of sleep each night. It would be impractical to regularly wash bedding, ensure it was dry, and keep their sleeping quarters clean given their demanding schedules. In other words, for cowboys, unsanitary living was simply unavoidable. Cowboys endured living conditions that would be considered unsanitary by today's standards. The clothing of cowboys, which we now view as iconic, served practical purposes rather than fashion. For example, their distinctive attire, such as metal-adorned cowboy boots and wide-brimmed hats, was designed for practicality and protection, not fashion. As it turns out, their distinctive clothing was not for fashionable purposes, of course. Their attire was practical and functional, tailored to the demands of their harsh lifestyle. Firstly, the metal in cowboy boots served a functional purpose. They were designed not to kick horses but to facilitate a smooth and safe mount and dismount, with narrow, pointed toes that slipped easily into stirrups. The cowboy hat served as essential protection against the harsh sunlight during the day. Then there are blue jeans and cowboy shirts, no longer exclusive to cowboys, both crafted from sturdy materials to withstand the rigors of long journeys. Over their durable jeans, cowboys wore protective leg coverings, known as batwing chaps, designed to safeguard them from rattlesnake bites and other hazards. Finally, let's not forget the bandanas around their necks. Which of course are not just a coordinating accent. When the sand and wind were too much for even them to bear, they would quickly pull up this bandana to cover their mouths. Thus, many of the typical cowboy costumes that we vaguely imagine today were actually functional to protect their lives. That is how dangerous their work must have been. As we have seen, cowboy work was unsanitary, harsh, and dangerous. If there were jobs like this available today, would you admire them or apply for them? I would do everything in my power to refrain from applying. But at that time, cowboys were undeniably cool. They were admired and respected by their contemporaries. The reason was very simple: being a cowboy was a sign of great ability. Not just anyone could handle such a dangerous and demanding job. Cowboys not only had to be highly skilled at riding horses and mastering the lasso, but they also had to have important qualities that were needed to be a cowboy. One of these qualities was smartness. To herd a charging herd of cattle, or to get them to cross a river, it was necessary to understand the psychology of cattle. To move safely through some of the harshest climates in the U.S. requires a deep knowledge of weather, ecology, and all other aspects of life. You don't become a cowboy by simply boasting about your physical strength. Secondly, strength, not only physical but also mental strength, was required to run for hours on end in constant danger. And most important of all, they had to be careful and diligent. To safely guide the cattle to their destinations, they had to take all possible precautions, always anticipating every possible danger. The cowboy, without regret, demonstrated a high level of skill and completed arduous tasks. It is understandable, then, that the people of that era regarded cowboys with a cool admiration. Thus, the work of cowboys was very difficult and respected by the people of that time. However, they did not overcome these difficulties alone. They had an indispensable partner in life, with whom they overcame dangerous tasks and built a strong relationship of trust. Their partner was the horse. While today we might equate a horse to a mere vehicle, like a car, for cowboys, horses were far more than that: trusted companions on their arduous journey. Moreover, horses held significant importance to the people of that era. In particular, cowboys formed a deep bond with their horses, whom they cared for diligently. In doing so, they developed a special bond with their horses. Cowboys faced numerous travel challenges, including harsh terrain and extreme weather, alongside their horses, with whom they developed a profound bond of trust. Now that we have talked about the life of the cowboy, do you have any more questions about cowboys that remain unanswered? There is one thing I haven't told you about yet, and that is their salary. A cowboy's monthly earnings were between $25 to $40, which, when adjusted for inflation, would be a modest sum for a single man to live on today. It may not have been as high a salary as one might expect. However, many cowboys were single, affording them a certain freedom in their lifestyle. Thus, they did not have to support a family, and they did not have to pay rent as they lived on the road. All the money they earned was spent on having fun with their friends and playing in the city. It is a very typical way for them to spend their money. Of course, there were also solid savers among them, who saved their wages to buy their own land or cows. Different people use money in different ways, just as we do today. This encapsulates the cowboys' existence, enduring arduous journeys that frequently endangered their lives. To say the least, it does not sound like fun at all. However, the fact remains that there were indeed people who continued to be cowboys. What kind of food did they eat? And what kind of enjoyment did they find in their daily lives during their grueling journey? First of all, their diet consisted mainly of chuck wagons. A chuck wagon is a horse-drawn wagon that accompanies cowboys on their journeys. The chuck wagon provided not only hot meals, such as steaks and pork beans, but also special coffee. Food was of great importance to cowboys, to the extent that some would change locations if the chuck wagon's offerings did not meet their expectations. Of course, there were no refrigerators in those days, so the variety of meals was not so abundant. Even so, one might imagine that a warm meal after a hard day's work would surely be a large meal, but in reality, the amount of food was rather modest, and they ate only twice a day, once in the morning and once in the evening. This was not because cowboys ate sparingly by choice, but rather to avoid depleting their provisions during long journeys. They were stoic to a fault, living a lifestyle that was centered on their work. These cowboys enjoyed eating rationally with such a moderate attitude, but did they really think that this was the only thing they enjoyed in life? Rest assured, there were times of relaxation in their daily lives to help them overcome the harshness of life. For example, listening to the music of musical instruments played by fellow cowboys under a star-filled sky, talking with each other, and enjoying friendship with fellow cowboys while gazing at the sky above, were moments of relaxation before going to sleep after a hard day. Even during the long nights on cattle guard duty, cowboys would serenade their herds with songs and stories. A practice that not only calmed the cattle but also demonstrated the profound connection between man and beast. For the cowboys, the cows may have been their worst nightmare, but at the same time, they may have been important companions on a tough journey together. The cowboys' songs were shared among them, and it is believed that the songs were about old stories and cowboys. They would then wrap themselves up in their beloved bedrolls and take turns getting a little sleep. At sunrise, the journey begins again. Tomorrow is sure to be another hard day. Yet, even in this harsh life, they found enjoyment. They led lives that, by today's standards, were incredibly dangerous and harsh, yet they found moments of peace and enjoyment. They also cultivated a culture of fairness and equality, offering valuable lessons for us today. You can see why so many people love them so much that they have been the subject of numerous movies. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insightful content. Take care and see you in the next video. Goodbye.